Hi FlossTube, this is Jordan. Today is October 4th and I'm coming at you with my 4th FlossTube video. Welcome if you are new. I'm so excited to see all the new subscribers. You are very welcome here and I'm super excited that you're here. Thank you if you're a returning viewer. It's awesome to know that there are people out there who want to keep coming back and watching my videos when I post them, which I do realize this is a bit delayed. I had planned to come back once a month, but things just got away from me in regards in September. I'll get into life updates a little bit later, but things were just really busy. And I also took forever to edit and upload my Camp BNS video because I had filmed a very long initial like August update. And then when I went to try to edit that one and then edit the Camp BNS right afterwards, I just, gonna be honest, was tired of listening to myself talk. And it just took a while for me to get back to edit that video. So sorry it went up as late as it did. Thank you for those of you who are still watching it, even though it did go up late. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gives you some information about Camp BNS. And if you haven't been before, maybe you'll be interested in going next year. So this is gonna be a standard FlossTube update. We're gonna start off with finishes. So I've actually had 3 finishes since the last time you saw me. Now I will say 2 of these are very small, so that's part of the reason why. So first finish was actually a secret stitch, so you're not going to see that one today. I will show that to you once I have fully finished it and given it to the person who it goes to. I just haven't had a chance to do that yet, so you'll see it at a later date. The second finish, actually the next 2 finishes were starts and finishes. So I've started them and finished them since the last video, what we call a SAF here in the cross stitch community. Also, sorry if you can hear side noise. My cats are very active right now and they've been chasing each other around. So and one of them I think is messing with some boxes or something. So apologies if you can hear that. If any of them get close enough, I'll snag one of them and show you. Because I know I've talked about them, but you've never really seen them in a video yet. So both of these finishes are the monthly mini pillows from Primrose Cottage, and that's what this pattern looks like. And yeah, I have this in cinematic view, so I'm hoping maybe this will help with focusing, but it looks like I might still have to put some things over my face, so we'll just keep going with that. So there's that. So let me see if I can find them. Yeah, so September and October are, I'm gonna see if I can get this close enough for, yeah, these 2 down here. Sorry, so this is September and this is October, which are the 2 that I've done. All right, so this is what it looks like stitched up. So this is August underneath my hand here. There we go. Yeah, so there is September. Cute little, yeah, it keeps wanting to focus on my face. Okay, so we'll just keep everything in front. And here's October. Now, funnily enough with October, I was getting ready to film this video. Sorry, now I have FlossTube itchy nose. And I was looking at it and I was like, oh yeah, I need to just double check. Or I was just doing a once over on this project and realized, oh heck, I've screwed up some stitches. So this one and this one, I had accidentally put this stitch here. Okay, maybe cinematic view was not the right thing for this. I had moved it over one because I can't look at it and show you and have it focus on it instead of me. Where I can actually see what I'm doing. There we go. Oh, I need to do this from this side. This will make this easier for me to see. Okay. There we go. Okay. I'll get these kinks all worked out eventually. Yeah, so I had moved this stitch over one on both of them. So I had to go back and frog it, which I had forgotten. Because I think I frog a little bit differently than some people. I will try to reuse my thread if I can. So I just try to pull out my stitches and then restitch. And so I would try to like find the thread and like backtrack back to that stitch that I need to fix. So then I can stitch it and then keep going and then stitch whatever I can stitch and then I'll fill in with new floss if I can save it. Not all floss can be saved, obviously. It gets really fuzzy and all that stuff. So I tried to save it, like do that same method, but with this upper one I realized I had completely forgotten how I stitched it, and so I ended up having to pretty much unstitch this whole thing because I had accidentally cut the wrong string because yes, I was terrible, and I carried from the pumpkins here over to this motif here, and so I had accidentally cut the wrong carry string, the wrong piece of thread that I carried over because I forgot which direction I stitched it. So, but it's done now, and that's all that matters. So these are those 2 pillows finished. So now I have 3 done, which is super exciting. Hopefully you can see all 3 of them. There we go. So now I have 3 done, which is great. And I'm really trying to stay caught up and get those done 1 a month so that I don't get behind and then end up with like 5 that I need to do by August of next year to have them all done. Now, these are all stitched on 32 count Cafe au lait linen from Fiber on a Whim, and I am using all the called for DMC, and I am stitching these 2 over 2 on 32 count. I always stitch 2 over 2 on 32 count. I think the pattern calls for, yeah, the model was stitched 1 over 2, but I just really like the way that stitches, the thickness and the boldness or oomphness of the stitches. I know oomphness is not a word, but that's the best way I can think to describe it, of 2 strands on 32. But whatever floats your boat, in my opinion, in regards to that. But so those are my 2 SAFs since last video. Now for the September monthly, I realized I didn't tell you my number of stitches. It was 623 stitches, and the October one was 669. Moving on. So new starts, I had 3. The first 2 were obviously those 2 start and finishes, the 2 pillows. And then the third one was in honor of Alana from Mrs. Sloan Stitches. For her birthday, she was starting an Autumn Lane pattern, and she started the, I think it's called Autumn, I should look this up, the Autumn Harvest or the Autumn Town. It's the one where you have the green fabric in the background, and then you stitch this like autumn scene, and it's like you've got rolling hills and all that stuff. I don't have that pattern, but I do have the Autumn or Falling Leaves and Coffee Please pattern by them. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna stitch this in honor of Alana's birthday since I have it and I've wanted to start it for a while, and it fits what she's doing. So this is the pattern. So yeah, Falling Leaves and Coffee Please. And this is just a digital rendering. There's no, I don't know if there's a model. I don't know if there's a picture of a stitched piece. So that's what it'll look like when it's done. And this is how far I got. It's not a very big start, I'm not gonna lie. It's just a teeny little start. Itty bitty. So this is just the first part of the circular border, the outer border. I decided to center start, but like top center start, that's what I meant to say, so that I could stitch the whole outer border, and then I'll probably, as I go down, hit, when I get to a part where I can grab something else, I'll grab something else and stitch that into. But I just wanted to make sure that I gave myself, I had plenty of margin and all that stuff without taking up, like I didn't want to start it in the middle and take up this whole piece. But since it's circular, and I don't like stitching up, if I can avoid stitching up because of the way that I stitch, I try to. So if I was like, if I start in the top center, I can just stitch down the whole way. So that's what I did. So that is that one, and I stitched a total of 83 stitches on that one. Just enough to say that it's got stitches in it and it's not completely embarrassing. But yeah, there's not a whole lot in there. I think that because of the way that I cut my strands on this one, I believe that was 2 strands of floss, if I remember correctly. But I'm not 100% sure. And I am stitching this on 40 count macchiato. This is 40 count Verdal and macchiato from Be Stitch Me. And I do 1 over 1, not 1 over 1, 1 over 2 on 40 count, pardon me, with the called for Be Stitch Me silks, which if I can wrangle them out of my bag, I will show them to you because they are absolutely beautiful. There we go. So yeah, these are not particularly, oh, and now it's focusing on the board games behind me. There we go. Sorry, this is the one that I've used, which is Java Hut, which is a fairly variegated, so it's a bit messy compared to its companions. but there you go. That's the colors. So lots of browns with this pop of orange, which is exciting. And this is in my amazing coffee skeleton bag from Jody from Jody's Bags and More. All right. I realized I didn't tell you, this is a So Much to Love bag that I have my monthly mini pillows in. Okay, next is I'm gonna wrap up my abandoned Sal / arbitrary August stitching that I didn't talk to you about at the end of August since I filmed it in the middle of August. So the abandoned Sal is something hosted by Kenny Stitches here on YouTube and on Instagram, I believe. For his birthday in August, he had wanted to get back to some of his Sals that he had not finished, even though they were already done. And so I was like, you know what? I have a lot of Sals that I started and am nowhere close to being, some of them are nowhere close to being done. Some of them I was like, I'm getting there, but a little extra work would be nice so that I could get those done. So I did pull those out. So the first one that I worked on was Flea Market Flowers. This is by Lori Holt of Bee in My Bonnet. That's what it'll look like when it's done. Lots of beautiful bright colors. And here's where it was before. See if I can consistently remember to do this time. And here's where it is now. So, very excited that I'm working on this box here. I think I already had this box started the last time you saw it, but I finished out the rest of, I'm trying to think, yeah, I think I just finished this entire leaf, like this upper and lower, and I might have finished this one too. I think I may have only had this one last time. So all that's left in this box is just the flower itself, and then it'll be done. So very excited about this one. This one will get done in like 20,000 years, but it's okay. And this is stitched on a 25 count Lugana in Barley by Vintage Cloth, which is also from Lori Holt. And I'm using all of the called for DMC because I loved the colors. All right, and then the next project I worked on was Frogwarts Year 6. You know, you would think at this point in the year I would have been tired of stitching on it, but not quite. So I did pull this one out. This was more the arbitrary August part, but this is what that pattern looks like. So yeah, themed around the year, or the 6th book in the Harry Potter series. And this is where it was before. And this is where it is now. Make sure you can see all of it. There we go. Beautiful. So worked on trying to color complete a little bit. Also worked on, so I think if I remember correctly, yeah, so the main thing I worked on was getting these 2 potion bottles in, because I was working on finishing up the colors here in the book to get for the potion book. And then I did start in on the locket. Yeah, the fake locket. There we go. I was like, what was this? Yeah, so this is part of the fake locket to try to color, get some of this started so I can color complete the greens in here in the actual locket itself. Pretty sure they're green. Yeah, the golds and the greens in there. So yeah, so that's where this one is. And let me zoom back out a little bit so you can see it better. There we go. Okay. And I am at 44.02% now after doing 496 stitches on that one, which my goal for these, I've mentioned this before, is to get these to 50% by the end of the year so that I can hopefully try to finish them all next year. I've gotten a few of them there and year 2 is done, but I have a few that have a ways to go and a couple that are nearly there, but not quite. And I am stitching that on the called for fabric, which is 32 count jalapeno linen from Fiber on a Whim, with the called for overdyes and etoiles. Yeah, I'll go ahead and pull them out for you because you're probably not going to see this. I don't plan on stitching on this one for a while. So, and this one I realize has most of them in here. So there are the flosses. The toiles are not on my ring, so sorry. But yeah, there's, I think you can see most of them with that view, if I can block my face and all the faces on the board games behind me. And then this is the year 6 bag, the bag that we got in the box. So, okay. Next up for the abandoned Sal was my Rainbow Temperature Galaxy, which is my temperature chart from 2022. So here's where it was before. Oh no, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to show you the cover picture. So this is what it'll look like when it's done. This obviously isn't an exact color match because my temperatures may look, and my color choices might be a little bit different, but give you the basic idea. All right, so there's that. Now, here's where it was before. And here's where it is now. So I did 369 stitches on this, and I mainly worked, I believe, yeah, I think I finished up through here since the last time you saw it. Like I finished this month, and then I've gone in and started over here, which this should be the start of April through here. So yeah, we actually had a fairly warm, we had some medium days, some hot days, and some cooler days in April of 2022. So, and this is on, I believe this is 32 count Cosmos Opal linen from Be Stitch Me. I know it's Opal and it's Cosmo. I'll pull out my card here in just a minute. Yeah, so that's where that's at. Grab my card here. Yeah, oh, 32 count Lugana in Cosmos from Be Stitch Me. And I am stitching that, again, 2/2 with all the called for DMC with the way that I have it, the temperatures set up that I have. If you want more details on that, let me know. I just don't want to go into that to explain that every time. But if you would like me to explain it, just put something in the comments and I'll go through it with you. Moving to Magic Kingdom, which is a pattern by Cunning Cross Stitch. Oh, I just realized I didn't tell you who this is by. This is, and I didn't tell you who Frogwarts is by either. So Frogwarts is by Kathryn Landis of the Black Needle Society, and Rainbow Temperature Galaxy, Rainbow Temperature Galaxy, good grief, is by Climbing Goat Designs. Okay, now back to Magic Kingdom. This is what it'll look like when it's completely done. There we go. Try to get the ring light out of there, but also not my face. So yeah, so that's what it'll look like when it's done. This is by Cunning Cross Stitch. And this was a Sal, I want to say, was this 2023's Sal? I don't know, and I don't know that his pattern says. If I will try to see if I can figure that out while I'm talking about it. But so this one is still available on his website. It's free. You can download it from his website. Yeah, his pattern doesn't say. Okay, never mind. But it's still available. So go if you want to take a look at it. It's definitely there. So did that. So here's where this one was before. And here is where it is now. So I'll give you the full view first. Here we go. Let's do that. And then I'll pull it in here. So I've been working on the, I believe this is the May block, and it's Beauty and the Beast. So I have been going down the DMC list because the way that he gives you the DMC and the chart is like this. I just put it in the top of my, bobbin box so I can just have it in the, where the floss is. Make it easier for myself. And so I've just been, I printed off an updated one because the colors that the pattern is using change each month potentially depending on which movie you're stitching. And so so some of the earlier months don't have all the colors of the future months. So, because he just adds them in as they go instead of having just a master list at the very beginning. So I've been going through the DMC list just symbol by symbol, number by number. And if I find it, great, and then I just stitch it. So that way I can just complete them all. And because this one's on my iPad, not a pattern keeper, so I can't highlight or anything like that. So it's been a fun way for me to switch up how I'm stitching it, as long as I have good anchor points and I can like throw my floss under it. It's not just like some random stitches out in here in the corner. But so that's been a lot of fun. So I went in and I stitched, I'm pretty sure I filled in a little bit more of the flower, but a lot of what I did was started the scene here. So the background, and then started stitching in the beast and bell. So coming along, hopefully maybe the next time I pull it out, I can finish that month, but we'll see. I don't know. This one will probably potentially come out again this year, but we'll see. We'll talk about that more when we get to plans. Oh, yeah, and FlossTube itchy nose is wreaking havoc today. All right, and the last project for the Abandoned Salsow was my Bats and Booze project from the Fat Quarter Shop. This was a free stitch along, I believe back in 2021, and they like with I think it was weekly releases. So this is what it will look like when it's finished. Sorry for the ring light. Let's see if there we go. So yeah, so that'll look like when it's done. And I'm getting closer and closer. Here's where it was before. And here is where it is now. So yeah, so getting pretty close. Getting there. I will say the more that I stitch on this, the more that I think I'm going to just, once I get this pumpkin and that middle quilting block done, I think I'm gonna call it. The more and more that I stitch on this, I really like the fact that this is the edge, like this lacy border is the edge, and I'm not gonna put the ghost border around it. I don't think it needs it, and I think I like the look of it this way. So basically, last time I think I was working on, or I worked down here to finish up this bat and this lace, and then I went in and worked on, stop focusing on me, on the pumpkin. So that pumpkin is nearly done, and then I'll just have, once this pumpkin's done, I just have the quilting block, and then we're good. Okay, so that one, I stitched 400 stitches on that one. I realized I didn't tell you, Magic Kingdom, I stitched 289 stitches on that one. Wow, I forgot to tell you all the details on that one, I'm realizing. So I will finish up with Bats and Boots and I'll go back. So this is on, I believe, a 28 count Icelandic gray witch out linen. I'm stitching this 2/2 with I did my own conversion from the called for Weeks Dye Works to Forbidden Fiber Co. So these are the flosses that I have chosen. And I've talked about this conversion in the past. Once I finish it, I will post that in the description box of my video. However, if you want to know what it is now, just leave me a comment below and I will, I'll let you know what it is. So there's that. And I have that in the Bats and Booze stitch along bag that you could buy from them. Okay, while I'm folding this one up, I'll tell you. So Magic Kingdom, I am stitching 2/2 with the called for DMC on 32 count Cottage stone from Color and Cotton. I will tell you, I believe it's possible it's either a dye lot change or it's a fabric difference, because I have some other things that I have stitched on Cottage stone that when this was an older piece. Also, that is getting a little washed out from the ring light. I think that's a little bit closer. Yeah, that's closer to true. It's still a little washed out, but it's not terrible. But that project was on a 40 count. Ooh, words. So the 40 count was darker than this 32 count. But again, this is an older piece. So it's possible that any piece that you get now will be darker than that, just a heads up. Now that completes all of the stitching that I did for the Abandoned Sow. The next section of stitching is my challenge stitching that I did with my friends that are the Facebook group that I'm in with the challenge that we have set up. So I pulled out, or I should say, sorry, I'm having to reach to the bottom of my bag here. With my challenge stitching in August and September, I tried to line them up with the things that I was already planning to do that month. So like I had my pieces that I was using for the arbitrary August / Abandoned Sow as part of my challenge stitching, and then my other plans that I did in September, which we'll get into in a minute, which didn't go as I had planned. I had all of those, I used those projects for my challenge stitching to try to overlap as much as possible. And we'll talk about this in plans too, but I'm definitely going to have to reevaluate how I had all that set up because it ended up being a lot. So, okay, so yeah, my next one was Common Thread by Hello from Liz Mathews. I do not have a cover photo of this because it was a freebie chart. Here's where it was before. And here's where it is now. Here we go. I'll pull that in so you can see the detail a little bit more because this fabric, especially close up, is getting washed out. I'll pull it back a little bit too so you can see the actual color. Although I think it's gonna get, that's definitely better, but that's still a little washed out. But yeah. So when I worked on it this time, I basically went around and did all of these light blue stitches around the outside. And if I remember correctly, I think I might be done with this color now, which I believe is, yes, Faded Denim from Color and Cotton, which I'll show you my flosses here in a second. So yeah, so I went through and did all of those, and that totaled 321 stitches since the last time I saw you. I am stitching this, I believe, oh yeah, this was a mystery fabric from a grab bag from Color and Cotton that I got, and so like this was just as big as it was. So I believe this is a 40 count. It looks kind of like aged paper, but it might be like an aged paper mist-dye or something else. I have no idea, but it kind of looks like aged paper. Has that same color, similar color. And I am doing this with my own color conversion, and this is a mixture of Color and Cotton flosses and one VMS, or Victorian Motto silk, I believe. So there is that. That battleship does not want to peek out. There we go. I'm excited to pull that bullfrog in. I haven't gotten to the part where they use that, or we use that yet, but I'm excited to see what that does when I pull that in. And that is, I'm stitching this 1/2 on this fabric. And this is in, oh, sorry for the zip. Well, I'm not going to apologize for the zipper, but I didn't necessarily mean to zip it. Oh, there's the tag. And this is in, I don't remember exactly what they call these, but, oh, I think it's just like a cross stitch clutch from Starlight Stitching Co. Yeah, there's the thing on the back. Whoop! I just got to block my face and hope that's right, because I can't see. The camera can see me before I can see it. And yeah, but it's one of those things where it has a zipper pouch in the front. Yeah, here's my McGonagall needle minder with this vinyl front. And then there's actually a second pocket in here, which is where I have all of like the floss and the fabric and stuff back there. And then when you open it, it has a thread bed here that you can put your threads on and store your needle and all that stuff, which is fun. Pardon my threads being not very organized in there. I believe she has an Etsy shop. I think she also has her own website, but don't quote me on that. I purchased that a while ago. Okay. Next challenge stitching piece was Witchy Way. And this is from Primrose Cottage. And there's the pattern. So I started my Halloween stitching a little early, but that's okay. These patterns are fun. Oh, I just realized. No, I didn't. Never mind. Whew. All right, here's where it was before. And here's where it is now. Oh, goodness. Let's try this again. I did a terrible job. There we go. All right, there's where it is now. So since the last time you saw it, I came in and I worked on this house for sure. I think I did the door on it. And I think I also finished up this house since the last time you saw it. I was gonna try to fill in the bottom, like this gray down here, but I realized I need a different Q-snap setup in order to be able to get all of it without having to move the Q-snap. So I will figure that out eventually. But yeah, this one I'm trying to go through. I think I wanted to try to go through and color complete if I could, as much as possible. So slowly but surely working my way through that. I think, yeah, once I finish, I have a little bit more on this house to do, but then once I finish that house, like finish the actual house and the chimney, I won't have any more orange left. So I'm really close to being done with the orange. But I did 311 stitches on this project. This is stitched on 28 count Storm Clouds by Mountain Air Fabrics. I love the way that this fabric feels and the modeling on this fabric. It works. It's really nice for this project. And I am stitching this I stitched 2/2 on 28 count. So this is all 2/2 with the called for DMC. And I am keeping that in a Love You More Studio book sleeve, which I mentioned last video. I think that I didn't know if they were, if they saw stuff on their website. Their website, when you go, it says that they're on vacation and that they plan to come back soon. And I do know that Laura is planning to, or is wanting to get back to making book sleeves. So hopefully she will come back soon and you guys can get some book sleeves for yourself if you don't already have one. Next is Acorns and Crows. So this is by Chessie and me. Oh, I apologize. I meant to take all of my projects out of the plastic bags, so there wasn't nearly as much glare, but I forgot with this one. So this is what the pattern looks like. Oh, and this is a real photo, so there we go. And this was the retreat piece from the very first Quilter Station cross stitch extravaganza. I am currently working on the needle book down here. And then I will eventually, once I'm done with this, get to this part, the roof. That's the piece I really want to do, and the fob, which I've explained in previous videos why I didn't start with the house piece, even though that's my favorite piece. So feel free to go back and watch other videos if you don't know what I'm talking about with that. And this is stitched with all of the called for floss and fabric because, again, this was a retreat piece. So here's where it was before. And here's where it is now. Let me turn it around the right way so you can see it. So this time I went through and I worked on, I think I did the entire house since the last video. So the house and the door and the chimney. I do need to do the roof still, but as I was looking at the chart, the roof is Smyrna crosses. And I know those aren't that hard to count for challenge stitching, but I just really didn't want to deal with doing a bunch of Smyrna crosses because it's the entire roof. So I was like, I will come back in and do that at a date where I feel more in the right mindset to do Smyrna crosses. They're not hard and I enjoyed doing them, but I was just like, I just didn't really feel like doing them. So I didn't. And then I went through and did this entire vine. And this side, it's just a mirror of this side. And so I did the 2 vines and then the bodies of both crows. So then I need to fill in their beaks and their legs and then do the acorns. And I actually did quite a bit on this one. This is 504 stitches since the last time you saw it. So, yeah. But yeah, that's pretty true to color with the fabric. And this, I believe, is... Oh, this part does not tell me. I was going to tell you. This is 36 count old stationery linen by Seraphim. I have all these fancy cards that I made that have all this information on it. Do I look at that? No, I just pull out the back of the the back of the pattern. Good night. And here are all of the called for flosses that I will eventually get to. I have not used all of them yet. But. All right. And I don't know where the bag that this one's in came from, so I won't tell you about that one. Last of the challenge stitching for this past 6 weeks is Let's Talk Winter. This is by Hands On Design. This one I did remember to take out of the plastic. That's what that one's gonna look like. And I'm currently doing the big pieces that are gonna go in a frame. I will probably come back and do these little rounds later, but I won't do that until I've finished all of the other ones that are all these other big ones. So there's that. Here's where it was before. And here's where it is now. So yeah, sorry about that hanging thread. So I did 356 stitches on this project. And I came in and did Snow Day and then 2 of the snowflakes, and then I've started another one, but I think I hit my challenge stitching before the end of it and I just didn't come back in and finish it. So I'll get there. I'm sure it'll come out this winter and we'll get some work. So yeah, this is on 32 count linen in slate by Fabrics by Stephanie, with all the called for DMC. Because Kathy Haberman knows how to pick colors. So who am I to make any changes? Right? All right. Okay. Slap that back in there. And this is in another Love You More Studios book sleeve. This is the large size. And I actually have another project bag that uses the same fabric. Apparently I liked it a lot. So, all right. So that is all the challenge stitching. Now, I had grandiose plans for September. I had wanted to work, I was going to do Gridiron Grind, which is hosted by Kim Hollenbeck, and the Great British Breaking Show Cross Stitch Challenge from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, because that started September 5th. And then Carolyn and Robin of the Magazine Monthly Facebook group were doing AB Singo. And I was like, yes, I can do all 3 of these. It's going to be fine. And I was all set. And it was going to be fine. It was going to be good. However, I went on vacation for a week in September, and between those 3 challenges and my Facebook challenge stitching, I had tried to make it to where a lot of those things overlapped, but unfortunately it didn't quite overlap enough. And so I just got really behind on a lot of things. And so I decided, you know what, AB Singo, I love you, but I'm sorry, I can't. So I did it for a little while, and then, yeah, I just had to let it go because I got behind while I was on vacation because I was spending time with my family, and I was hoping I would be able to catch up later in the month, but because of the way I had set up my Great British Baking Show and then Gridiron Grind, the 2 projects I was using for those were completely different than everything else, and it was just getting really overwhelming and actually was starting to affect my love of stitching. And I was not wanting to stitch, and I was not wanting to do anything with my FlossTube because I was just getting burnt. Like, I don't want to say burnt out, but it was just becoming a lot. And so I finally was like, okay, AB Singo has to go. It's not going to work this time. I will plan better next year. Or maybe because there were 3 different things that I wanted to do, my life right now, maybe I can only handle 3 of those or 2 challenges outside of my Facebook group challenge stitching. So, and I was also realizing I need to reevaluate the way that I'm setting up my Facebook challenge group, my Facebook group challenge stitching list. Because I think that also, the way that I had set that up was making everything else a lot more complicated. And so I was like, okay, just need to reset and focus on the projects that I want to focus on. So I actually kind of turned into a monogamous stitcher for a while because I worked on the pillows to get those done. And then the way that I have my Great British Baking Show challenge set up, I was basically monogamous until I got that stitching done. Oh, another thing that's also been that was throwing me off too is I have some things that I want to get done before the end of the year because they're gifts. And so I would like to have them done before the end of 2025 so I can give them to the people that they're for. And I haven't really been able to touch them because I've been doing all this other challenge stitching. And so I was like, okay, we just need to reevaluate. So I'll get into that more in plans. But all of that to say, I got a little overwhelmed and a little frustrated with this hobby. So ABC and Go went by the wayside. And I just focused on doing Gridiron Grind and my Great British Baking Show challenge stitching. And that actually meant that I also didn't, for the last 2 weeks of September, I didn't do any challenge stitching in my Facebook group because none of those projects fit those 2 other goals that I was focusing on. So yeah, let ABC and go. Now I'm doing the Great British Baking Show. Now, the way this has been, so there's a couple different ways you can do this. Let's just explain it this way. The original way that Jessie Marie organized it was that you assign a project to each person or each contestant, and you would stitch a number of stitches on that project based on if they got a handshake, if anybody got a handshake, who was first in technical, who was last in technical, who was star baker, and who was eliminated. And so you could potentially be stitching on 5 different projects or 6, depending on how many handshakes Paul gives out, because he's usually pretty stingy with them, but last season he gave out quite a few. And so depending on if any of those overlapped, like you could end up switching a lot with your projects. And so that was one way. Another way that she has done it in the past was she had just assigned numbers like random numbers to each contestant along with just a random number, and then she stuck to one project. And so depending on who did whatever number of stitches was assigned to that person, those would be what she did for that thing. And then she would add up the totals for all of those. So like handshakes, last in technical, first in technical, star baker, eliminated, for whichever contestants those were. And then that total she stitched into the project that she had picked for that season in that week until the next episode. Hopefully that made sense. I will show you, I can't show you my entire list because I have been making marks on it, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll kind of show you an idea of what mine looks like, or what the list looks like. Now this year, she's doing it a little bit differently, and I decided, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. Let's try that, so that way I'm not switching projects all the time. So she is doing it where each contestant has their own project assigned to them, and also a random number of stitches, and hers are in 100 stitch increments. And so the project that she's going to stitch on for that episode is determined by who wins Star Baker. So that's the only project she's going to stitch on for that until she watches the next episode. I should have phrased it. That's the project that she's going to stitch on for that episode. Let's put it that way. And the number of stitches that she puts into it is based on who does what and the number of stitches assigned to that person. So, for example, let me see if I can pull this up without, I will cover up names so you can't see who I have projects assigned to, since I have some data on here. And I'll explain some of my other numbers here in just a second. So let me see if I can do this. Or maybe I should just, that's what we'll do. We'll just do that. So yeah, you shouldn't be able to see. Okay, so that's my list of, oh, sorry, there's not much contrast there. So those are my list of projects. The ones that are scratched out, that's because those people got eliminated. And so the first number that you see next to the project name for me is the number of stitches that I will do if that person does something. Okay. So like for that first contestant at the top, if they got last in technical, I would do 100 stitches for that on whatever project was picked by who got Star Baker. So that hopefully that helps. That makes sense. I will attempt to link the video where she talks about how she's doing it in my description box below in case you want to look at that. Now, the other number on mine that you will see in parentheses next to it, or like where it says finish, or maybe a percentage, that is my goal for that project, or the number of stitches I want to get in that project by the end of the year. Okay? So what I am doing for Great British Baking Show is I will stitch the project that is chosen by who is Star Baker. If the number of stitches that I do for that project exceeds its goal, I will take that project off the list and substitute another project in its place. In my case, what I'm doing is I'm taking out the project of I'm taking the project of who was eliminated and putting it in that space. Now, I'm only on episode 2. I have not gotten very far, which is why I'm also not going to include any names in here, because I don't want to spoil it for you, and I also would hope that other FlossTubers wouldn't spoil it for me, and if they do, I'm going to try to just fast forward and stuff. So I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. So the first episode, the person who got eliminated, I'm not going to stitch on that project because of the way that I'm doing this. So I'm putting that person's project in for the person who won Star Baker for the first episode, because I've met the goal for that project for the year. I've put the number of stitches in for that project for the year that I wanted to achieve. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and I'll try to explain. So for the first episode, the Star Baker, the project that was assigned to the person who won Star Baker was Let's Talk Autumn by Hands On Design. Let me grab it down here. So that is what this project looks like. This poor cover is a little worse for wear because I have this out a lot. And again, stitching the framed piece. So that's what that'll look like when it's done. Now here's where it was before. You're gonna be shocked by what it looks like now. Here's where it is now. Yeah, so a lot of stitches. I did 2,104 stitches on this project. I'm pretty sure that's right. Yes. So the way that the numbers worked out, I was supposed to do 2,100 stitches on this. So I think I just finished off my floss and it got me to 2,104. So all of the words are done except for falling leaves, which is going to go this way. Because of where my Q-snap was positioned, and the way that I like to stitch, I just wanted to get all of the words that go right to left, or left to right. Ooh, yes, left to right. I know my rights and lefts, guys. I wanted to get all of those done, and then I was going to, with whatever stitches I needed to finish up after that, I was just going to work the colors and the motifs wherever my Q-snap was at the time. So since I finished with Pumpkin Patch, I went in and did the orange lines underneath it and then started working on the leaves. So yeah, I got a lot done on this project. And because of that, I think I could potentially finish this next year. So this is stitched again on 32 count linen in chalkboard or slate by Fabrics by Stephanie. And I will say, this was a dream to stitch. I don't know why. I like the fabric, but also the DMC. Like, even though they were white stitches, they didn't look, now granted, I railroad, and I also, when I'm laying my first leg, I try to be meticulous with how the floss lays. So if it gets twisted, I try to pull it back up and fix it. And release my needle, because the way that I stitch, I get a twist if I'm not letting my needle go. But I really enjoyed stitching on this. Even though it's dark fabric with white stitches, like, it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. So I am excited that I still have the winter, spring, and summer to do and to finish that one up too. Because yeah, that was a lot of fun. So now that one is done from Great British Baking Show. I will not touch that project again. I have moved the project that was for that person who was eliminated the first episode into the person who was Star Baker into their slot, so I can get some more progress on that project and hopefully meet its goal before the end of the year. Yeah, so, and I was, and that's the amount of enjoyment that I got out of stitching that many stitches on one project was part of the reason why I was like, you know what, maybe I should just start focusing on one project at a time and just getting a lot of stitches into that, which will make sense with my, or it influenced my plans quite a bit. So you'll see that here in a minute. And this is, I realized I didn't tell you, this is in a Goose Designs bag, I believe. Yes, there it is. I was like, where's the thing? But yeah. Goose Designs. I really need to move this because it's Let's Talk Autumn, but it's in a snowfall. The bag was so bad. I think I initially picked it because I didn't have that many project bags that really fit with this one, and it has sweater, like it has the word sweater. I was like, sure. So I really should move it. I have themed project bags now that I can put it in. Okay. Yes, this is the last whip for this floss tube. This is my Gridiron Grind project. This is a challenge that was started by Kim Hollenbeck, but the way that I'm modifying the challenge is the way that Sarah at Stitch and Mommy is doing it. So I am stitching a number of stitches per point that the Kansas City Chiefs score in their game that week. So preseason it was 5 stitches per point. Regular season it's 10 stitches. Postseason, if we make it, will be 20 stitches, and then Super Bowl, if we make it, will be 50 stitches. I am stitching this, or the project I chose for this is my Harry Potter Stitch Your Own Adventure from Cunning Cross Stitch. This one, unfortunately, is not available anymore. So you can't get access to this pattern, so I apologize that you're going to keep seeing this until it's finished and it's not available. But yeah, so I'm sorry for that. But I have decided this is a project that it's big, it's going to take me forever, and it's just not, I love the idea and the pattern. I think it's because of the fabric I chose, but again, this was a project I started when I first got back into stitching, and I'm not super in love with the way that this fabric feels. It looks great, but it doesn't feel super great, and so it's not a project that I am drawn to, because again, it's also like a big project. There's a lot of floss, like it's not easy to pull out. So I don't gravitate towards it. So this challenge will force me to put in some stitches on it, which was the point. So this is where it was before. And this is where it is now. So got quite a bit done since I've started this challenge. My bag is covering my notes. Yeah, I actually did quite a few stitches in it since the last time you saw it. I couldn't remember the number. So I'll pull you in now so you can get a closer look. So I focused here up at the top, and I was mainly focused on my wand, finishing up my wand, and also doing these 2 curly cues over here. So I'm gonna really try to hold this so you can see. So I finished the green and the yellow curly cue for Hufflepuff and Slytherin. And then I came in and did the back stitch on the wand. Hopefully you can see the detail there. So there's some back stitching to accentuate the differences in the color here, and then there's some back stitching to create these little flower motifs back here. So, and as a reminder, the wand, you actually rolled a d6 twice to figure out what the front end and the back end of your wand were going to be. And the rolls I got happened to be the front end and the back end were both the wand figuration that had the back stitching on it. So this is actually these 2 went together is what I'm basically trying to say. Even though with the way that works with probability, that shouldn't have been necessarily the way that worked out. But I really like it, so it worked out. So yeah, so that's where I'm at now. I do need to do my stitches for this week's game before we play again on Monday, or this past week's game before we play on Monday. So I think what I'm gonna do, and I have to do, I think 370 stitches. So, and that's been another reason why I was getting a little bit kind of overwhelmed with my stitching, is I didn't know where to go, because there's 2 owls up here at the top, but they're kind of like, they're almost colored like barn owls, but Hedwig is not a barn owl. And they're not necessarily meant to look like Hedwig, but I wanted one of them to at least have the similar coloring to Hedwig, even if it wasn't like the spots and stuff. And I'm also doing a different version of the castle than he did, because somebody else charted a castle that looks much more like the castle in the movie. So that's what I'm doing. And so, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to there, if I wanted to do the owls, and I was like, well, maybe I can do the train because I'm not changing the train. But then I realized if I change the castle, I think that impacts where my train goes. So yeah, I was just like, oh my goodness. And then there's a bunch of letters that are going to go in at the bottom to be to depict all of the letters that Harry got from Hogwarts when he was first being told he was going there. I'm trying to get this where you can see where they're going to go. So they're going to go down here at the bottom. But didn't really want to move my Q-snap either. So yeah, I think I have a plan now. I think what I'm going to do next is work on the castle, because the base of the castle is the same. So it's going to go in the same spot where the castle would go. I don't have to move anything. And then I can just go from there with the train. And then I'll figure out the coloring on the owls after that, I think is my thought. So I stitched 962 stitches on that project. This is an unknown linen. I want to say because of the way it feels, I think it is a witch owl linen in maybe flax or something like that, but I don't actually know the color. It was something that my LNS had behind the counter, so I didn't bother to write it down. And I believe this is a 28 count based on the size. So, okay, that is all of the whips for this video. I'm going to attempt to grab my stash acquisitions because one of my cats has decided to take a nap in the basket. So we'll see how this goes. Hi, baby girl. Yeah, I need this. All right, well, but since you're on top of it, you get to make an appearance on FlossTube. So she's gonna be mad at me. So this is Tonks. Say hi, baby girl. Sorry, I'm trying to hold her in a way that you can see her, where she doesn't look ridiculous. So yes, so she is named after Tonks from the Harry Potter books. I got the honor of naming her, and so that is her name. I just woke her up, so sorry. She's a little sleepy. So, but this is her. She's a beautiful gray tabby. She likes being pet. She's not always a fan of being held. There we go. But she does enjoy pets. Okay, I'll put you down. Fortunately, I'm filming in the room where their napping window is, so I will position her over there and she can take her nap if she would like to. Reposition, take a nap. Okay. So let's do stash acquisitions first. All the crinkles. And she just got back down. So you know what? I'm just going to pull everything out of this bag. Or this bucket, basket, whatever. So that if she lays back down in there again, she can, and I won't have to move her again. Yeah, because immediately jumps back in. Okay. So, since the last time I saw you, I've actually gotten 2 of my Cottage Garden A Year in the Woods Part 2. I did not take these out of the plastic, so I will try to angle these. So the first one was the number 3, which is the koala. Look at that face. So cute. Lots of beautiful grays in there. And then the 4th one is the crow. And that's what he or she is gonna look like. Very pretty. I will say, I know some people are not liking the series quite as much because of the fact that they're all on brown and everything's a lot more muted. I actually think it's a really cool just difference, and also a display of the diversity and like just the way that the skill of the designer of Vinny, if I'm reading that correct, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think that shows her strength of being able to design more diverse patterns. Also, I think there were probably some people with the first one who were like, this is cute, but I don't like, these are pretty, but I don't want to put all these on this, like all these different backgrounds and all these bright colors. Like, so for them, this might be way more up their alley because it's more muted. And I think being able to stitch both pieces at some point and have them juxtapose each other will be a lot of fun. I will say this one, I haven't even bothered starting to kit anything up with it yet. I'm pulling the specialty flosses for the Closet Colorworks if I have them, but I'm not, so I will pull that for these two once I put them away. But I'm not, like, I haven't decided on fabric yet or anything like that, because I just started the other one this year. And those are on 36 count, so I was like, well, do I put this on 40 count or not? So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to decide that once I actually get around to starting that one, which I won't start that one until I finish the other one. So I'm going to let future Jordan make that decision. Okay. My next bit of haul was my order from Color & Cotton. So they did a pre-order for some fabrics that they were doing, because they were doing a gradient of a few different ones. And so I ordered some fabric with that. And when I ordered that fabric, I also ordered one of their floss packs that they've made. And so, but the floss didn't come until the fabric was done. So this is 40 count Spellbound. And this is the pale version of it, because I think they did pale. Oh, I'm going to get this so wrong. I think it might have been like pale, light, medium, dark, very dark, or something like that. I think that's pretty true to color, actually. So really, I just really wanted a lighter, like a light purpley gray. And I really liked this color, but I wanted something that was very, not a ton of modeling, and was very like with some subtle changes in the background. Because I ordered a piece of 40 count because I wanted to increase my 40 count stash, because I don't have a ton of that. Or I don't have nearly as much of it as I do 32, and 32 and 40 are kind of my go-tos because of the way that I like my stitching to look, and those two with one strand versus two strands give me the look that I like. So I wanted a nice like gray purpley neutral to have in my 40 count stash. So there's that. And then I should have looked up the name of this. Let me see if I can look this up really quick because this is a floss pack that they have, and they're doing these different themed floss packs throughout. They've been doing them, I think it started this year, I don't remember exactly when, but they've just been putting together different, like they're different colors that go together with fun little names. They're not all gradient sets. This one kind of looks like it would be a gradient set, but it's not. But yeah, they're calling them thread collections. There we go. So this one is the Let's Go Party thread collection. And I've gotten a few of these that I've shown you on here before. And I'm waiting to order some more, but I need them to order. One of them is out of stock, and I'm waiting for them to restock it. So this was the Let's Go Party thread pack, and I'll read you the names here in just a minute. This thread pack is in stock, so you can just go and buy this thread pack, but if there's certain colors that you really like in it, I will show them individually here in just a second. So this one is Red Poppy. And I think these are showing up pretty true. It might be showing up a little bit more orange, but they're pretty true. And this is Petal. Pretty light pink. It does variegate into a darker pink a little bit there. You can see that if I keep my face covered. And Coming Up Roses. Nice deeper pink there. Zinnia. This is a little bit more red compared to the Coming Up Roses, in case you're wondering, like, how are those different? Yeah, Zinnia is more of a red pink, whereas Coming Up Roses is more of a purple or blue pink. And then Flamingo, which is a nice, like, more on the orangier side of pink. And I believe, yeah, and it does variegate. There you go. You can see that better if it'll stop focusing. There we go. You can see that variegation there. It's a nice variegation there. That was repetitive, sorry. All right. So there's that stuff. And then the next set of stash acquisition is from my vacation. So we went to South Dakota, and we drove from Kansas City up to South Dakota, specifically Rapid City, South Dakota. I will get more into the details of my vacation and life updates, so if you're not interested, don't worry, I'm not going to get too into the woods with that. So on the way there, I don't remember the town that this is in. I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. Beresford, South Dakota. You pass Beresford, South Dakota on the way from Kansas City to Rapid City, South Dakota. So I was like, I'm gonna see, and I had wanted to stop at a cross stitch store on vacation at some point because I like to do that so that I can check out different places if I can. So the store I'm talking about is the Shanty Stitcher. I think it's just called, sorry, just Shanty Stitcher. Super cute little store. No, I was a terrible FlossTuber and I did not do any sort of recording in the store, so I apologize. I'm still having to get in the habit of remembering that I should do that because I have people who may never have been to that store before who would want to see what it looks like. It is a cross stitch quilting. I believe they also have wool applique, if I remember correctly. There might be one other craft that they have in there that I'm completely blanking on. Oh, they have embroidery in there too. Yeah. So it's embroidery, quilting, wool applique, and cross stitch. And in the front of the store is a lot of like, they have their cross stitch fabrics, a small, it's a decent size wall of floss, and some of the patterns that they have stitched up around the store. The majority of the cross stitch is actually towards the back of the store. So when you walk in, don't get discouraged and be like, where's all the cross stitch? It's in the back, and trust me, there's plenty of it. I could have spent hours in that store, but I didn't have that kind of time because it was the first drive. It was the drive day of our vacation. And because of the timing of when we hit there, it was around lunchtime. So the family members that I was with were hungry, and I didn't want to be completely disrespectful and spend a ton of time in there. But I definitely wanted to take a look around. So I tried to focus on looking for patterns for designers that I didn't know much about, or knew that I didn't really have access to them back in Kansas City because I have 2 LNSs here. So, and also like if I found fabric and there were floss there that I don't have access to here, I wanted to focus on that. So I eventually like tried to prioritize myself. So I'm just going to go through as I pull this up. So I almost didn't see this floss, but happened to see it on the wall as I was getting ready to walk to the checkout. And I was like, oh, I need to grab this. So she actually had a bundle of color and cotton floss specifically for the Cocoa Quaker. So I grabbed that. I think I do have some of these flosses already kitted up in there, but I'll just throw this in there instead. And then if I need to pull those for something else, I can, or I can just put them back in my stash. So I have those. And then she didn't have this one in a floss pack, but she did have all of them, so I just bought them all individually. So these are all of the flosses that you need for the Stitching Quaker by Primrose Cottage Stitches. Let me see if I can hold that up. And again, I think I have some of these already, but I was like, you know what? That's okay. I will just buy these, and then I can put the other ones back in my stash. So pretty. Super excited to start that one when I get there. But so yeah, so there's all those. Very excited about that. And I am definitely a person where like if I see color and cotton in the wild, I'm gonna buy it because 1, I want to support the shop that is carrying it, to encourage them to continue to carry it, but also 2, that way I don't have to pay shipping on it. Since I don't live in St. Louis, I would have to pay shipping. So I got some flosses. Oh, and speaking of, I also picked up the 3 Quakers that I didn't already have, which were Fruit Salad, which I actually already have all the floss for this. I just didn't have the pattern. So the Fruit Salad Quaker and the Stitching Quaker. So yeah, I didn't have the pattern for this yet either. And St. Patrick's Day. There we go. So I picked those up. Since we're on patterns, I'll keep going with patterns. And I also picked up the 12th Day of Christmas from Liz Mathews. So this series is now complete. I have all of them. Have I started the series yet? No, but I will. And I'm gonna do the framed piece and stitch them all individually. And hopefully eventually just make a gallery wall of all of them. Now, this last pattern I bought because I happened to see it, and I don't know that I've ever seen this pattern from Stitching with the Housewives before. So I was like, I have to get this because it's totally true of just me as a person in regards to my stash acquisitions, like the stash I have and all that stuff, and the way that I organize things. So it says, it's not clutter, it's cross stitch. So Super cute. Cause yeah, I like organizing, like having my stuff organized, but just because of my life right now, like cleaning and keeping things uber organized is not necessarily my top priority. So I do have my piles sometimes everywhere. And so, yeah, so it looks cluttered, but it's really not, I promise. So yeah, it's just all my cross stitch stuff. But okay, these last two, oh, shoot. I just realized she gave me, I think she gave me the ends that didn't have, oh man, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize this until just now. These were originally fat halves and I had her cut them down into fat quarters and she kept the tags, which makes sense, but then didn't write tags on them. So I will have to guess the colors and I will look it up and I'll put a title at the bottom so you can know. I do know, I'm pretty sure I know who the dyers are. I just don't remember all the names. So this one I bought because, and like, I'm gonna have to measure the counts. I'm pretty sure both of these are either 36 or 40. I'll have to double, I have a measuring thing, so I'll measure it. But this first one I bought because I have wanted to try Cedar River linen, but have never found it in an LNS, and have thought about purchasing it online, but really wanted to look at it in person before I bought it. So this is, I believe, it's either 36 count or 40 Cedar River linen. I want to say it's, oh shoot, I'm not even gonna try because I don't remember the name. I will display it across the bottom for you. I want to say it starts with an A, but I don't know if that's true. That's pretty true. It's probably a little bit lighter and a little bit whiter in the parts that are catching the light, but it's pretty true. But yeah, super pretty. It feels really nice. It's a Zweigart base. It's not too stiff, and I it's mottled, but it's very subtle. Like, you can see that a little bit, but yeah, it's very subtle, which I really like. I am very much I like some modeling for some movement on the fabric, but I don't want it to overpower everything. So there we go. I was like, how? Okay. So that was that one. And then this one, I believe, I'm pretty confident this is a Fabrics by Stephanie. And this is the same count. So I think it's a 36 or a 40 in, I think this is like Angel something, but don't quote me on that. But it's just this beautiful pale gray. I think it's showing up. That's pretty true. Yeah, a little bit more modeling than the Cedar River. It's a little bit, I think if anything, this part that's closest to my face that's got a lot of white on it it's a little bit darker than that, but otherwise pretty true. And yeah, I love stitching on gray as a neutral. And so when I saw this, I was like, yes, it might be also whispering something now that I think about it. But yeah, I will put the titles across the screen. And then when I organize this, I will make sure to put a note. Make sure I label these so that I have the information. Okay, that is all the stash acquisition. The next section I'm gonna call Stitchy Kindness. I should just call it like giveaway winner, because that's what it is really. I realized I never actually showed you guys the pattern from a study, or that I won from Frogwarts. So I won a study in Garden Fairies from the Artsy Housewife, which is very cute. So if anybody has this and wants to do a stitch along, let me know. I don't have any of the fabric or floss or anything, so I'd have to kit it up, but I would be open if anybody wanted to start it with me. And then I got a message from a friend of mine who was like, hey, you should go watch the Hathaway Stitchers video. And I was like, okay. I don't know that it's the most recent video, but it was at the time. And I was like, okay, I'll go watch it. I had completely forgotten that they had done a giveaway, and I actually won one of the patterns that they had given away in their video before. I was like, oh, cool. So I won Peekaboo Birds, and this is by Robin Pickens Cross Stitch. There we go. Such pretty birds and such beautiful blue fabric, which is this Petrol Blue by Zweigart. So yeah, Amity had purchased 2 copies of this pattern, and so she had another one to give away, and I won. So Amity, if you want to do a stitch along with this, let me know, and I will get this kitted up. I don't have that specific fabric, but I'm sure I've got something, and then it all just calls for DMC, so I'm sure I've got these around. And if not, I can go get them. They were also super kind and sent me some stickers. So one that says Boomerang Stitches, which is Amity's design name, and Hathaway Stitchers with their logo on it. Sorry for the glare. There we go. And they sent me this floss card with these beautiful silks on them, which match the silks, or the silks, the color of their logo. And on the back of this tag, I'm not going to turn it around, is a free name tag pattern. There we go. So I'm going to have to scan that QR code and download that because I haven't done that yet. I don't know which silks they are, but they are like what colors or who dyed these because it's not labeled on here. But, oh no, it is. Sorry. If I only could read. So this is Silks for, this blue one or teal one is Silks for You PR 123, and then this is Silks for You PR 166. So yeah, I just didn't see that they had put the names on the tag. So, but these, I've never worked with Silks for You. These feel amazing. Like these feel super soft. So yeah, I should stop playing with them and getting my oils everywhere. So that is all of the all the giveaways that I've won. All right, moving on to plans. So I'll try to keep this short and sweet since we're already at an hour and 20 minutes. I really want to focus on being a little bit more monogamous with my stitching. So this month I'm not doing my challenge group through, or like the Facebook group that I'm in. I'm not doing the challenges for that. I'm just gonna take a break from that and reevaluate how I want to do it next month, but I want to reevaluate how I'm doing it. Because part of it is with the numbers of stitches that the Great British Baking Show is calling, because of the way that I have those numbers in 100 stitch increments assigned to different people. The next episode, so I'm only on episode 2. That episode, because of who did what and the numbers that randomly got assigned to them, I have to do 4,200 stitches. And I'm not a fast stitcher, and I don't have a ton of stitchy time. And so that's going to take me a while. Now, granted, the project that I have that's pulled for that is the March sampler for this season. This episode is March sampler, the sampler of the month from the Country Cottage Needleworks. I didn't bring it in here to show you guys, but I only have the 3 bands at the bottom underneath the house, which is not 4,200 stitches. So what I'm going to do with that one is I'm just going to stitch it till it's finished and then move on, even if it's not the 4,200 stitches. And that will obviously finish the goal stitching that I had for that project. And so it'll get swapped out with the project that for the person that got eliminated. Yeah, that'll get replaced by Bats and Booze, actually. And based on how that's going, I have a feeling that one might be finished before the end of the year too. if with how that person has done, if that continues as the season progresses, I have a feeling I'm gonna keep replacing that person's project a lot. So yeah, so I'm going to focus on doing that, and I'm going to focus on Gridiron Grind and keeping up with that. So it's only going to be like, maybe it'll be that one project from Gridiron Grind, and then depending on how many episodes of Great British Baking Show I get through, it'll just be a couple of projects. But I think that will also help to shorten these videos, which will help me with not getting overwhelmed with editing. Because I like to put in the before and after the before pictures so that you guys can see those. But then if I have a bunch of whips, I then have to go and find all of that stuff. And I'm trying to take better notes so that it's not as hard for me to find that stuff. But because I really like doing these videos and I really like putting them up on YouTube, but it just takes me forever to get them to that point because of how long editing takes, because of what I want to include in these videos, and then cutting out all this extra jabber because I like to talk. So I think cutting down on the number of whips that I have will help with these getting edited faster, getting them up to you faster. And I really want to stick with the once a month, which is why I waited to record this until the beginning of this month. And so I'll just record again at the beginning of November so I can give you an October update. And I'm going to try to stick with that beginning of the month filming time so that I can just give you the month's update. I did consider doing every 2 weeks, but if I really stick with this whole monogamous thing and only focusing on a project until I get to a certain point, I think once a month will be fine because I won't have to edit as often. And since my whip number is going to go down for the videos, I think that'll help. A lot less bouncing around and feeling like my brain's getting pulled in 20 different directions in regards to my stitching. Now, that does mean that I'm probably not going to pull out any Halloween projects this month. I mean, I did complete the pillow, so I scratched that itch a little bit. But I may not pull out any Halloween projects unless Bats and Booze gets called as Star Baker next week or whatever. I'm okay with that. I'm not a super seasonal stitcher, so that's not a huge deal. It also means that I'm not doing Stitch Hauntober. I had wanted to do that. It's hosted by the Black Needle Society. And I had even laid out like, okay, these are the projects that work for this, and these are 2 prompts that I don't have anything for. I have one already kitted, but one, I have a project that I could start, but I don't have any of it kitted. So I was like, great, I'll kit that up. And then, then I just got overwhelmed by everything. So I was like, you know what? Maybe we'll just table that for next year. And maybe we can do that at some point when maybe I don't have as much going on. Now, the thing is if I do Great British Baking Show and Gridiron Grind every year, those are always going to be present in September through however, like until the end of football season, which is February, or the end of, I guess, end of regular season if we don't make it to postseason, but at least most likely through the postseason and maybe the Super Bowl. So, yeah, so I think, that's my plan for now. We'll see. And I'm trying to be really super flexible with myself and letting just kind of do what makes this hobby fun. I'm also going to I'm thinking about doing like a strand a day on the 2 secret stitches that I want to get done before the end of the year. So that way I'm still making some progress on them, but I'm not feeling overwhelmed by getting that stuff done. It's just like strand, boom. Okay, I can move on to whatever else I want to do. So I think that'll help with getting those done. That's actually how I got one of my previous secret stitches done, is I just made it my 25/7. And I basically just did a strand a day instead of counting my stitches or 25 minutes or whatever. So yeah, I think those are my plans for the next month. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if I like it still, being monogamous and really focusing on 2 main projects with a little sprinkling in of those other 2 secret stitches. We'll see. You'll find out next episode. Okay, so that is the end of the cross stitch update. This next part's going to be life update. It won't be super long, but I do have a couple things to mention. So if you just wanted to come in for the cross stitch, thank you so much for coming. Hope you liked this video. If you did, I hope that you'll like and subscribe so that other people can see my video in their algorithm and they'll come and watch and see what this channel is all about. And I hope you have a great October, and I will hopefully see you next month, and it won't be another like 7 weeks. For those of you who want to stick around for the life update, here we go. So main things are, I went on vacation in the 2nd week of September. We went to Rapid City, South Dakota with my side of the family. So my mom, dad, and then my sister, brother-in-law, and her kids, which was a lot of fun. I've never been to South Dakota before, so that was really cool to see just how the geography there is different yet similar in ways to Missouri. I mean, it's very different. But there are some similarities, and just the differences between the eastern side of South Dakota to the west, because we basically drove all the way across it, because Rapid City is pretty far west, but you come up into South Dakota from the eastern side and then just pretty much drive all the way across. So like driving through and seeing the Badlands, and then we also drove around or drove down there to see it too, but just seeing how that geography just changes so much between the Badlands and the Black Hills, which is where we stayed for most of it. Saw Mount Rushmore for the first time, which was really cool to see it in person and really get a scale for an understanding like how big those sculptures are, and also learn some history behind it. Like, I didn't know that they were meant to be full busts and like actual, like almost, Lincoln was almost supposed to be full body. Like he was supposed to have a full coat and like a hand and stuff. And Washington was also supposed to be nearly full bodied, at least have more of his bust, like the upper part of his chest done than he did. But they basically ran out of funding, and the gentleman who had designed it died, and so they just declared it done and stopped carving on it. So really cool to see some of the history there. And they have a trail there that you can walk around to get up close to the rock formation, or the rock carvings, I should say. and then it brings you around to like one of the history centers that they have there. So that was a lot of fun. We also went to like a chuck wagon show, and they also hosted dinner. It's very similar, it has similar vibes to Dolly's Stampede and like Medieval Times, I think is what it's called, where like you're sitting and eating and watching a show at the same time. You're at shared picnic tables, but the show that they put on is this, it's a band that plays music throughout different parts of history, which was a lot of fun. Just to see them all up there having a great time. And then that chuck wagon show also has like, there's a whole like old time town built up there, and there are people there selling stuff. Like there's a guy who's he makes rope out of toilet paper. It's fascinating. And you would think that that's not possible, but the way you can twist toilet paper and braid it in a way that it can actually make a legit rope. It was really cool. And there's a guy there who makes like 10 plates, and there's just a bunch of old time makers there. And then they also have this roller coaster that you can ride. You hang down and you're sitting, and you have a gun, like a laser gun, and you are trying to shoot the buffalo. And we rode it a couple times because we bought wristbands, and so you could ride it as much as you wanted. I was not very good, but it was fine. It was a lot of fun. We did that. We went to a wildlife sanctuary that was called Bear Country. It mainly has a lot of black bears, but they also have some other animals, like I think they had did they have Arctic wolves? I know they had some Arctic foxes. The cutest thing though was they had bear cubs. Oh my goodness, they were so cute. And like it's a very humane situation. A lot of them are like, they're animals that wouldn't survive in the wild. And that place is very much focused on conservation and trying and educating the public about the animals that they have and all of that stuff. So it's very much it's humane place, and the purpose behind the sanctuary is very true, like well-meaning and positive. So just a heads up there. But I swear those bear cubs were so cute. They had water that they could play in. Oh, they were so adorable. I will try to insert some pictures. We took a lot of pictures, and my family does a shared album, so I will try to put some pictures in. I won't overwhelm you with them though. And then we also, my brother-in-law's sister, my husband, and I went on a hike, and oh goodness, it was challenging. It was a lot of fun, but we went up through the cathedral spires and all the way up to Black Elk Peak. And yeah, it was probably the most challenging hike I've ever done. I'm also not in super great shape right now, so that didn't help, but it was beautiful, and being able to say that I did it was really cool. But yeah, it was hard. It was really hard. But that area was super pretty, and I'm glad I went. But it was rough. We also went down to Sylvan Lake, which is in, I believe, that's in Custer State Park, I'm pretty sure. We did there. We walked around their trail a little bit. We couldn't walk the whole thing because they were doing some maintenance and it was under construction, but that was okay. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what else we did. We also we went down to Wind Cave, to that national park. And I'm glad we did, because it was one of the few times we actually saw a buffalo. So I did get to see buffalo and prairie dogs in the wild, which is really cool. The buffalo were kind of far off, but we did see an actual like small herd of buffalo, which was awesome. Because we only saw a buffalo like one other time when we drove up from Wind Cave. We were going from there to do like there's a wildlife loop. So we did one part of the wildlife loop to go to one of the trails there. And we did see a buffalo there. I won't insert any pictures, but of this one, because we were like kind of surprised that there was this random lone buffalo, but she did not look good. I'm really nervous she was like sick or something. So I won't put any pictures in here because they're just sad. And then I think continuing on the drive back to our Airbnb, we saw another like lone buffalo off the side of the road. But no, actually we saw a couple. But no, like the herd that we saw was at Wind Cave. And yep. I'm trying to think what else besides that. Beach at Wind Cave, the Custer State Park. There was a day that I think it was the day that we went to bear country, that my parents and my sister and my brother-in-law and their kids went to spearfish to go to the waterfall. I was really tired from the previous hike, so my husband and I stayed at the Airbnb and just hung out. But they went to spearfish, beautiful waterfall. But yeah, I was just not up to going. We also walked around, when we first got there, to kind of get the lay of the land, we did walk around a dinosaur park that talks about different dinosaurs that they found in the area, and has these big, like, I think they're meant to be life-size models of these dinosaurs, which was really cool. My nephew really enjoyed it. Oh, and then my mom and my brother-in-law, not my brother-in-law, my mom and my husband and I went to Wall Drug, because I've heard a lot about Wall Drug, and so I wanted to go, and he wanted to make sure that I went, because there's some stuff, there's some history with his family at Wall Drug that I won't get into, but it's not, they've gone there quite a bit, and so I wanted to go to see what it was all about. That's the easiest way to say it. And then that's not that far from the Badlands, and so we went to the Badlands National Park. We basically drove in, got our stamp for my passport, and then left. But we did drive through it a little bit to see it, and see how the geology there and the rocks there are very different from the rocks in Black Hills. So that was cool. I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was the majority of it. Other big important update is we finally sold our house in the other part of the metro that we moved from, which is very exciting. We had to extend it a couple times because the couple that bought our house, just their loan situation was not working out, but they did get it all got figured out towards the end of the month. So, but yeah, we have officially sold that house. We no longer have to worry about it, which is great. Super excited. We can just focus on this house now. So yeah, I think those are the big life updates. Thank you for sticking around if you did, and I will see you all in the next one. And I hope your coffee is strong and your stitching is prolific. I'll see you all next month.